We are your home theater and AV questions answered. This is AVRant. Want your home theater or AV question answered by Tom and Rob? Send it to question@avrant.com. Welcome to another edition of AVRant. I'm Tom Andry, and I'm here with
Rob H. This is AVRant. It's your home theater and AV questions answered. And as we record this right this moment, I don't know what the number of this episode is. I'll have to do a little experiment to find out.
It's crazy, but I think it's going to be the 9.1.
Yeah,
Give
I
us
think
another
so.
10 to figure it out.
I think we're doing firmware update nomenclature. I think that's what's going on.
Yes, it's getting silly, but I think that's what we have to do.
And so folks watching on YouTube, you probably won't notice because I didn't change the style very much, but I got new glasses, and as I've talked about with Lee Overstreet, you know, I get all the coatings, and I suspected when I wore these for the first time last week, I'm like, I don't think the anti-reflective is quite as good on these lenses as my old lenses, and I'm looking at myself in the camera now, I'm like, yup, I can see more reflection of my computer screen in my glasses lenses. So given that my prescription barely changed at all, only my left eye changed the tiniest increment that it possibly can, I think I'll go back to my old glasses for podcasting purposes. But not today. I don't have the wherewithal. I didn't even have enough time and planning to like trim my hair, which I needed to do. But folks who ever wanted to see me not freshly shorn, I've got a little bit of hair.
The man has plenty of hair. I just don't understand where he doesn't like let it do something with it. Like some people like me have to suffer through having no hair.
It's kind of the awkwardness at this point because, as I've mentioned before, but I'll say it again, my hair grows like a chia pet, so it's exceedingly awkward as soon as it gets even the tiniest bit longer.
To curl? Is that what happens?
No, it doesn't curl at all. It grows straight out.
Oh, straight out.
Like I'm a Hellraiser with, Pinhead or something like that. Like that's the way my hair grows. So when I did have longer hair, like in order to style it whatsoever, it just had to be thinned and thinned and thinned and thinned. And
poor thing. What's it
the
like
barbers,
to have too much hair?
The barbers who like don't do that style and just, mostly use the razor and comb and try to fade it in and do angles and stuff. It was like, it's like sculpting a, stiff hedge bush my hair is. So
turning into Mickey Mouse. That's
pretty much it. It's really not stylable hair that I have. So yeah, growing it out is exceedingly awkward, and I kind of keep wanting to, but yeah, I don't know how to get through the ridiculously awkward phase of it for like 3 months. I guess I could just wear a beanie the whole time, but I'm always hot as it is.
That's kind of how it works. I had to break it to you. That's how growing your hair out is.
I'm stuck.
As somebody who's grown his hair out long a couple of times, and more than a couple of times in his life, I can tell you there's that whole headband phase where you're like, I gotta wear a headband. I just have no choice because it's not long enough to put in a ponytail or to do anything with. And it's
I remember on Smallville when the actor who played Lionel Luthor, Lex Luthor's father, at one point they shaved his head, and they did it for real. He actually shaved his head. It wasn't a bald cap or anything like that. And then he grew his hair back out. He doesn't have horrible hair like I do. He has very, very lovely flowing mane-like hair, but he absolutely went through a very awkward phase in that show. And they did their best. And they've got professional stylists, much more expensive on a show like Smallville than the sort of hairstylists that I would go to. And but yeah, even they couldn't overcome the awkwardness of certain stages of hair growth. So there it is. That's the problem.
All right. So little updates of stuff.
Yes.
So my house is back. It's back. We have tile. We have drywall. We have baseboards. We have it all. It's all done. So that's all done.
And the new plumbing has been humming along, no issues?
Humming along as far as we know.
Excellent.
I haven't seen the indication that there's anything wrong, but
has your tenant in the above the garage place
she's been fine.
They've been doing all right. Okay.
Yeah, as far as I know, she's very sweet.
Very good.
And she has a sweet little dog named Chloe. Dog's name is Chloe, and she comes out. And I'm like, "Where's the dog?" And I want to talk to you. I'm not here to talk to you. I'm here to see the dog. Very cute dog. So what's going on here? Of course, what's going on mostly with me is back stuff.
Yes.
I will tell you, I don't like to talk so much about things I do, outside of this. Some of you will know, because I have mentioned it maybe once or twice, that there's an improv theater here in town that I often do shows with. Improv is like the lowest form of let's say lowest form, the lowest barrier to entry for acting that there is. Like, you have to memorize any lines. You just have to know some games and stuff like that.
And you can definitely, like, if you've had no acting experience, you can find a absolute beginner's improv class somewhere that'll take you. So it's
like
not,
our theater, most theaters have something called a drop-in class, which is like $20 for 2 hours or something. That's what they cost here.
It's a great way to start. If you're facing stage fright inexperience, it's a great way to start.
Well, and not only that, too, improv is great for those people who are starting to do, or, having problems with shyness, or knowing how to start conversations, or whatever. One of the best people one of the best improv people that are at the theater, they told me this recently. They said, like, when she first got here, she, couldn't get on stage. She couldn't. She barely talked to anybody because she was so painfully shy. And now she's. Yeah. I was like, I just can't believe it. I can't. I know you, and I can't believe it. She's like, that's the way I am. I'm like, so that's insane. I'm not that way. So that was never a problem for me. I just like doing improv. But if you've seen Whose Line Is It Anyways, you've seen. Musical improv, where you sing.
Yes.
You sing, you make up songs and sing.
That's pretty challenging. You sometimes get into a zone where your brain is just like, it's coming up with rhymes that you wouldn't come up with normally, and sometimes you get in that zone, but occasionally you're not in that zone and you are on stage, and it's a very stressful thing when that happens.
It is the exact opposite of what you just said. It is occasionally, most of the time, you cannot come up with any rhymes at all, and you just keep going anyways, and occasionally you accidentally rhyme and you're real proud of yourself.
All right,
is how that works. So we have a show that's coming up in a couple of weeks. That's going to start in a couple of weeks, called the name of the theater, Spitfire. So Spitfire's Got Talent. It's like a knockoff of let's say inspired by American Idol and all of that. And it's all improvised. So it's going to be I think it's going to be a pretty good show. I got cast in it, so I will be singing on stage.
All right.
Which is, if you're like, oh my God, can he sing? That is an excellent question.
Okay. We're going to find out.
I have just started taking like the intro to musical improv class, which I don't really take classes. So I'm like on class 2 or 3 of that, and I got cast in the show. So I am going to be singing on stage. So I am as terrified as you might think I might be. So I can tell you, I have in a couple of shows, in a couple of instances, sung on stage, sometimes against my will. This last Thursday, I was doing a show with like a short 15-minute segment of a show with somebody, and the musical guy who plays the piano and a bunch of other stuff is amazing. I don't want to out his name here just in case he cares, but my partner in this scene had gone up to him and said, hey, if I wanted to sing, would you be available? Would you be near the piano? He goes, yeah, I'll be up there, but if you think you might sing, you're gonna sing. And I was like, what does that mean? And he goes, well, you can't tell me you might want to sing because I'm just going to start playing music and you're going to have to. And I was like, okay, well, I'm not sure. So look for my signal. And as far as he was concerned, my signal was I was on stage.
You've stepped on stage. That's absolutely right.
So I was in the middle of saying something, and all of a sudden the music started. I was like, dang it. Now I have to sing.
Fair game.
I have been on stage a couple of times and sung, and I can tell you right now, I cannot tell you a single word of what I said. There's not a single syllable that I can recall. I mean, I am so out of my mind focused that the words that I say have they do not enter into memory. They're like, nope, that's gone. We have to focus on what's happening next. Please focus on the next word that's coming out of his mouth. So I will be, I mean, there's all kinds of different, there's a host character who doesn't sing. There's the judges who don't sing. There's the 3 contestants who do. And then there's going to be 3 or 4 people who are going to be doing commercial breaks in between. And the commercials will be inspired by whatever was said in the segment before that. So we'll be kind of calling back to that. And we've been practicing for the last, I think this is 3 rehearsals. 2 rehearsals? I don't remember. But it is going to be interesting. Really talented people in there. I'm in there as well, but there's some really talented people. And I'm super excited about it. So if you're going to be in the St. Pete area and you're looking for something to do and you're like, hey, I know that guy. That's going to be it. But other than that going on with my life, everything is on hold here.
Okay.
So my back is still out. I'm still suffering with that. I'm going to the doctor tomorrow to get the next procedure done, and hopefully that'll make things better. We will see. We got a large shelving unit shipped to us from Etsy. I talked about that last week. Some of the hardware didn't show up. They apologized. They've sent the hardware, but I was like, man, if you could have just given us like a link to like Amazon so we could have ordered it ourselves instead of shipping it from overseas.
It's coming from far away. Okay.
If it's coming from far away.
I mean, a lot of Etsy is based in the US, but a lot of it isn't. So
not this one. So we are waiting for that to show up still, but we have we have couches that we have already purchased, and they're supposed to we're waiting for everything else to happen, because right now where the couches are where all the shelves and pieces are for this shelving unit. So once I finish the shelving unit, then I can
there'll be space for the couches.
Have the space for the couches. And we were waiting to, we had ordered some other stuff, and now it's all starting to come in. So I've got a coffee table just kind of sitting in the middle of my dining room, and we still have to order a rug, but we're gonna have to wait on that. So the couches are still in limbo. They're holding up for us, but right now everything is just sort of in limbo. I did get the subwoofers pulled into the house. They are plugged into the receiver. I have not run the Audyssey DRAC or whatever it is yet, because
it'll be Audyssey on yours. I don't think you're paying the extra. It doesn't sound like something
I thought
you
that this NAD already had it on there.
Yours is the NAD. That's right. Yeah, no, it's DRAC in that case. Yeah.
So I am waiting for my back to feel better so I can crawl all over the floor to run the speaker wire, which is what I have to do next, to get the surrounds hooked up, which I have the cable for, I have the banana plugs for, I have everything for it.
Tom just came up with the perfect justification for cable risers, and not small ones either. Well, what do you know? There we go. We did it.
4.5 feet in the air.
4 foot cable risers.
For cable risers. So that's all in the works. So we're in the next couple of weeks I should finally have a home theater completely set up. But the subs are in there, they're plugged in. Not turned on, but they're plugged in, and everything is ready to go there. So that's me.
All
What's
right.
going on with you?
Well, I mean, I said most of the stuff that's going on with me. I don't think there's been a whole lot else. I don't know. I'm kind of in a blur right now. I'm kind of in a just keep knocking down tasks as I go, and then like you said, forget about them as soon as they're done and checked off the list, and it doesn't really stick in my mind for any length of time. But yeah, no, the main thing was I guess the new glasses. That's the biggest change right now.
Single life. All right. So I didn't watch anything. I'm still working my way through rewatching Brooklyn Nine-Nine, catching up on Saturday Night Lives, which I've missed. And I might be on season 3. I feel like I am. In fact, I am, because season 3 starts with of Parks and Rec starts with sort of an overview. It's like, this is what's happened so far.
Yeah.
And when I saw that, I was like, I'm not going to watch this episode until my wife's in the room, because I can watch it with a little overview, and then I won't have to explain everything to her. Because she sat in for like half of one episode, and she was like, oh my God, this is funny. It was the one where Leslie invited all the former directors to go on a picnic so she could get some quotes from them, notes of inspiration that she would put into their yearly brochure, and they all hated each other. My wife was like, what is this show? This is really funny. I'm like, okay. So I'm going to wait for to watch season 3 with her, the beginning of season 3 with her. So yeah, that's where I am.
All right. So I watched one movie this week, which was Predator: Badlands. That is the most recent in the Predator franchise.
I did not know that there was another Predator. Did I miss this? Oh,
this
is the one where there's the robot girl, right?
There is indeed, yes.
Okay, Go ahead. Yes, I saw the preview.
Elle Fanning portraying a synthetic.
I love Elle Fanning. She seems amazing,
and absolutely no like subtlety about it. It's like she is a Weyland-Yutani synthetic. So the Predator and Alien franchises are well integrated at this point. So yeah, this is written and directed by Dan Trachtenberg, who has more or less completely taken over the Predator franchise, because he also wrote and directed the animated Predator Killer of Killers. Right. Which is it should be on Disney Plus, right? Because that's all Fox, and Fox is all Disney, so all of the Predator stuff is on Disney Plus these days. And he also did Prey prior to this, and so that Prey really kind of rebooted and reinvigorated the entire Predator franchise, and was a very pleasant surprise how good Prey was. So with Predator Badlands, here's what I'm going to say about it. You got to decide early on whether you're in or you're out. Because if you want to come at this with any sort of a critical eye, then I don't think you're going to enjoy yourself. I would describe Predator Badlands as a comedy first and foremost. I would say it's a sci-fi action comedy. That's what it is, and we are entirely following a predator. He is the main character, and I thought they made a pretty bold choice of he has a mask on for a few minutes in this movie, but the most of the time you're seeing the exposed face of a predator, and that is your protagonist. That is your hero character. And if you aren't down with that immediately, then that's going to be a bit of an issue. But it's also like it absolutely is hitting all the tropes of an action movie. I guess you would call it a hero's journey. It's a bit of a redemption/revenge quest that this particular Yautja is on. But yeah, I mean, it's like there's no like new story beats. That's not what's going on here. But it's told very entertainingly. So you just kind of got to be like, I'm down for this. Like I'm gonna go for it. I'm in. I'm happy to follow a predator as my lead character. Elle Fanning is the only person who speaks any English in this movie. It's spoken in the Yautja language.
Oh, really?
And they don't translate it for you. It's subtitled.
There's no
places.
subtitles.
No,
that's
there are.
Interesting.
In places there are subtitles, so you can understand what he's saying, but not the entire time. So yeah, I mean, credit has to be given to I'm going to mess up this guy's name, but it's Demetrius Schuster Kolomatangi, I think. So yeah, he's actually speaking the lines, and they did a facial capture while he was there, and he is physically portraying with a pretty darn heavy latex rubber suit that he's wearing to portray this predator. And so and they said since Elle Fanning's character is damaged when they meet up, she is a synthetic and she's damaged, and so she basically has to be carried around, and so there's a bunch of like digital effects removing parts of her body, which obviously Elle Fanning was complete, but the synthetic character is not physically complete. And so for a large portion of this movie, he's carrying her around like a backpack, and apparently they did that for real. Like he's a stunt performer, and this is supposed to be kind of like a runt of the litter predator, but of course, being a predator, he's still a jacked dude.
Yeah.
So apparently, he was just carrying around Elle Fanning on his back for real for large portions of this shoot.
She doesn't seem like a large person, but even a not large person is not something you want to be carrying around all day long. And the dude must have been absolutely jacked after that, though.
He is, and she's reasonably tall. So I don't think she's absolutely feather light. So yeah, the performances in this, like I say, like if you're not down for a Predator movie that really is a comedy for most of it, then like that's the thing, like you got to be in, right? That's what I mean. You got to be in or you're out, because if you're gonna be like complaining that because like the characters are taking things seriously, they're not like doing although Elle Fanning's synthetic is supposed to be an empathic synthetic, because she's there on this planet to like understand the wildlife that's there. Or at least she believes her mission is to understand what's there. It's Weyland-Yutani, so of course there's something darker going on. But she's under the impression in her programming that she's there to like bond and understand the life on this planet, and then a predator shows up when she's damaged, and so she's kind of like light and jovial and making jokes a little bit, but it's not like, you know, that type of comedy where they're, you know, looking straight at the camera and mugging or something like that. They're taking what's going on with them seriously, but it's comedic situations, and, you know, they come across interesting characters that, you know, comedy ensues type of thing. So yeah, you got to be down for that type of tone, because if you're just like, I just want, you know, visceral action and stuff, and it's like, this is a violent movie even though it's PG-13. They avoid the R rating by everything on this planet, including the predator and the synthetic. They don't bleed red blood, right? So we can apparently get away without the R rating. But it's like, no, there's plenty of dismemberment and blood and gore going on. It's just not red blood and gore. So somehow that allows them to make it PG-13. But if you're just like, I want, you know, brutality and I want anger and I want all of that stuff, it's like, yeah, that's all there, but it's played for comedy purposes. So that's what's going on with Predator Badlands. But I enjoyed myself. I had a fun time watching this movie.
Come on. The original Predator movie, all of those movies from that era were action comedies. There was never not comedy involved. I mean, that was the whole idea of the quippy one-liner at the end of every kill, is that there was supposed to be this lightning moment at the end. So I mean, to be like, oh, I don't want there to be any jokes in my movie. Okay.
Right.
Cut it out. That's not. That is not an action movie. It's not. If you don't want it to be, if you want it to just be heavy action and no laughter at all, what you're looking for is some sort of like war movie, like a Saving Private Ryan D-Day thing. That's, you know, that is just the horrors of war. Because if you don't have any jokes in it, then it is depressing by the end of it. And not that anything wrong with it, was just the first movie that
no, but I mean, a lot of people want the sort of John Wick tone, which does have little moments of comedy in it.
It does. It still has
absolutely.
comedy.
But I wouldn't put John Wick into the comedy genre, whereas I would put Predator Badlands, like that would be one of the hashtags I would put on this. It's part of the comedy genre, to be honest, is this movie. So that's maybe, you know, maybe not exactly what everybody thought it was going in, or from the previews or the trailers or something like that. So that's the thing I wanted to say about that. The other part was, I'm sure I can look this up because obviously people have done the analysis to figure it out, but I couldn't tell from this movie exactly where it fits into the timeline. It seems like it's a bit farther into the future because the technology that the synthetic is using seems a bit more advanced. So I think this is but yeah,
it certainly can't be a prequel to the previous movies, since they happened when America or the planet was not technologically advanced.
Yes. This is well after Prey and well after Killer of Killers. This is well into the interplanetary travel of humans by the Weyland-Yutani Corporation. But all of the technology looked more advanced than it was in like Alien and Aliens. So I think we're farther in the future in this based on that, but I'm not entirely certain. So at this point, the synthetic was well aware of the Yautja and knew that name, so that also makes me think it's. But then again, the timeline is messed up in the Alien Predator franchise, so I'm not certain. I'll look that up later.
All right. This is AVRant, the podcast that answers your home theater and AV question. To get your question answered, all you have to do is ask us by emailing us at question@avrant.com. Come to the website, find our shows, our show notes, any links that we'll be referring to or to products or articles, as well as a Flickr album that you can follow along the pictures that we'll be referencing during this podcast. I didn't see any pictures, but I didn't scroll down very far.
Oh, so there's plenty of pictures to go along this time.
Let's be honest. I didn't scroll down past this part of the of the Word doc that you sent me. So I think I scrolled. Nope, I didn't even get to the news. So yeah, I didn't scroll down.
One page.
So I'm sure there'll be some pictures. According to Rob, there's definitely
pictures. Will
be. You can find us on Facebook.com/AVRant podcast, YouTube.com/AVRant, where you can our recording sessions will be posted with very little editing, if any.
Indeed.
And Rob will be putting in the pictures so that you don't have to
That's
have
right.
that Flickr album open. You can just look over every once in a while. Contact us directly, Rob at AVRant.com. His socials is at First Reflect. I'm Tom at AVRant.com. My socials are nothing because I don't do socials anymore. All right. I swear to you, this chair that I am sitting on, the arms do not have the same levels on each side. It's infuriating that one arm always feels a little bit lower or higher than the other. And I keep trying to adjust it quietly during the podcast because it clicks, but it never gets right. And it's sort of like in Better Off Ted, those chairs that in one of the very first episodes, it's like a chair they invent with a material that makes it's just a little scratchy and it makes people focus because the chair is always this office chair. It's called the Focus Master. You never
sink in and kind of zone out.
You never get comfortable enough, and then they made it too uncomfortable, and people started going insane. So this is what it feels like to me. Sort of. So anyways, let's see here. Listeners of the week, if you want to become a listener of the week, all you have to do is support the podcast in some way. One of the ways to do that is go to avrant.com, click on the Buy Us a Cup of Coffee link, and send us a PayPal donation. Or you can go to patreon.com/avrantpodcast, where you can subscribe to be a monthly contributor, a minimum of $1. So it's only $12 a year for all this wonderful content about Tom's uncomfortable chair. Mm-hmm. And then the apparently ever widening gap between us and the episode 1000, where I mean at this point, I mean, how are we even going to know how many episodes we have? I guess because we have no idea because there have been half episodes in the past as well.
It wasn't accurate to begin with, so
it wasn't accurate to begin with. And then we couldn't go back and look at like Libsyn, who hosts the podcast episodes, because they're I didn't start off putting the audio on Libsyn. I like did it someplace else, and then I had to transfer it over, and it was like this whole thing. So it's an unknown number of episodes, but it's definitely over 1,000.
Like numerically 1,000 at this point. Well past.
Well past that.
We did that a long time ago. But, I mean, the problem is, anyone who's listened to me, you know that I love a running gag, and this has now entered running gag territory. So I don't know what we're going to do. We are here.
We may never get. Unfortunately, we have a plan for episode 1,000 that I really do want to implement.
That's right.
And have spent money on. Would like it to happen, but. I can't get anything done between you and I being constantly busy with one thing or another. Plumbing issues, my back's
it's legitimate. Like it's unplanned stuff crops up on both. It just keeps happening. And it's just
people are like, well, if you were more focused, hey, listen, you're right. If I was more focused, I could get it done. Okay?
Well, if this were more than a hobby to us,
that's true as well. People are like, I can't. You gotta take it seriously and get on your hustle.
Right?
Like, listen, I don't have hustle. I am too old for hustle. And Rob can't even get his hair cut. So, I mean, what do you want from us?
And,
Patreon.com/AVRant podcast. We currently have 120 patrons, which is up one from last week. So thank you to whoever that was.
Yes, at this Patreon.com/AVRant podcast, where you can sign up to make an automatic monthly donation. And a big thanks to our 120 patrons over there who have done so. Yeah, I mean, that is not any sort of paywall. We have said all along that is entirely just, at one point, years ago, someone folks wrote to us and said, we would just like a way to support the podcast financially and donate some money. And we're like, well, we'll set up a Patreon. And they're like, you going to have any goals? And we're like, nope. It's
extra work? Excuse you.
It's not required.
If we rename the podcast, we should rename it like the Low Effort Podcast because we're just like, no, sorry, can't do it.
I mean, we're what podcasts originally were. It was just a couple of folks having fun. It's become such a weird professional space, semi-professional space for some, and it's like, and then sometimes people assume that we're doing it for some type of financial reason or as some sort of employment or whatever. It's like nothing could be further from the truth. But the financial support is tremendously helpful because it does cost money.
It does cost money,
just host the podcast and have our domain name and stuff like that. So that would be completely out of pocket. We'd be in the red. Tom was in the red for ages and ages. Have you finally gotten out of the red at this point? I think it's pretty close.
It's got to be pretty close.
Yeah,
I think.
You can't be tremendoly in the red anymore. I don't think.
But I mean, the reality is like you said, there is a financial cost to this, but right now there's almost a social cost to this. Like I can't tell people I have a podcast. Look at me.
Right.
I cannot tell people I have a podcast because it immediately shoves me into like, well, did Louis Theroux interview you? I'm like, no,
Oh, right.
no, I'm not that kind of podcast. I'm not selling supplements. All right, I'm good. Okay, I'm just over here talking about home theater because I love talking about home theater, which is funny because someone found out I was in the home, that I have a background in home theater. They're like, what's the best speakers to get? I'm like, oh my god, dude, I can't. You got like 3 hours? Like, I need some more, if I need some more information and all this other stuff, and I'm just like, I don't know. Get some Polk speakers. Leave me alone. All right. Other ways you can support us on this podcast is do something or say something or whatever. And if we don't know about it automatically because you did or said it to us, then let us know what it is that you have done. We've even had people say, hey, I told my brother about your podcast. Guess what? You're listener of the week.
Good
there
enough.
You go. Good enough for us. Low effort podcast.
That's right.
Ren emailed a whole bunch of movie codes for me to test out. I started to do that and then got distracted and then I forgot.
It was a very long list, so no blame.
It was a very long list, and he typed up all the codes,
I know,
which is like so helpful. But also, I'm like, what if he mistyped one? Does it not work, or did he just type it in wrong? It doesn't matter. I don't care because the zeros and the O's are really. You don't know which one is which.
And I would say I hope for his sake he used optical character recognition, but I don't even trust that anymore. There was a point where optical character recognition got really good, and then they decided, nope, it's all AI now and it's going to make stuff up. So,
well, it's just like your voice to text on your phone. It used to be able to just pretty much get what I said. You know, it might mess up a name, but it got the words, and it never put in punctuation. And now
spell check on my phone and my computer. I'm like, I used to, mistype these words all the time, and it would either just automatically change it to the correct word or at least suggest the correct word very simply. And now I mistype like one letter and it just sits there. It just sits there and it highlights it and it says this is a misspelled word, but it doesn't even offer the correction. Like, what happened? How did spell check get worse? We
had some friends in town. I think I don't know if I mentioned this. We had some friends in town and they said to us, we noticed that our Echo, our Amazon Echo, isn't smart anymore. Like, it doesn't give you the right answers anymore, but Siri still does. I was like, that can't be right. So we asked it like a really basic question, like something kind of simple, like, well, like a factual question, like what was the capital of something or something else. And we asked it to my Echo and their Siri on their phone simply because they had it open and they were the one that was saying. And the Echo was not even close to correct. Right. I mean, it just came up with some off-the-wall answer that had nothing to do with anything. And Siri was like, it's, I don't know, Washington, D.C. or whatever. I mean, it was something
going to change, because Siri is just becoming Google, is just becoming Gemini. So that's all going to change. But yeah, I mean, they always pointed to like, this is all supposed to be leading us to the Star Trek computer. I'm like, did you not watch Star Trek? Because very often the Star Trek computer would say like, unable to calculate, insufficient data or unknown. Like, it would reply unknown. I'm like, I would rather get that. I would rather get unknown from the computer than a made up answer.
You're supposed to not know. You're not supposed to just like agree. I cannot and it's people are like, oh well, he's using the AI wrong. All these creators who show you that you can ask AI to do something and it's like, yep, I can do that, and then it can't do it. Like count. Consistently, and people, they're using the AI wrong. It lies. It says it can do a thing that it can't do. So it's not AI. It is what they call a token predictor, which is it just looks at all the words, the order of words that it's seen on the internet, and then says, based on the order of words you gave me, this is the most likely order of words that words in this order that you want to hear back. That's all it is. That's not smart. It's stupid.
Well, it's kind of funny. Thanks to one of the questions that's coming up, I did a search, like I just went to Google and did a search for photos that I know I have posted, but I couldn't remember where I posted them. So I'm like, well, they're on the internet somewhere. And let's try this AI thing. Like, can you find, because like I knew some of the words I used to describe it, when I did the post. So I'm like, can you find this post from Rob H from AVRant that like has these images and has these descriptive words? And it's like, the result I got back was like a profile of me as an AVRant host, and it said a bunch of things about my home theater. Like, It was correct that I use Ascend speakers, but it got none of the models correct. It got none of the time correct, none of the sizes correct. And then it had like comments, like supposed comments that people have made about my theory. I'm like, well, maybe someone said that, but it is in no way applicable to my actual
question.
I was like, okay, so there it is. Like, I don't know. We got a fair amount of YouTube content out there at this point. And it's like, supposedly that's all been ingested. I'm like, well, this is the result I got back. And I know the real answer because it's about me.
So anyways, Ren emailed us a bunch of codes for me to test. I started testing it. I got distracted. They're actually from his brother Ray, who's built up a nice Ultra HD Blu-ray collection, but doesn't really make use of the codes himself. So Ren, I'll start testing those out for you and let your brother know whether or not they're any good.
That's right.
And get back to you. But thank you very much, Ren, for doing that.
Thank you, Ren, and thank you, Ray, because the codes are actually coming from Ray, but Ren is the one who decided to email us, and we thank you both.
We also got some notes of gratitude for keeping the podcast going in this infinite limbo between 999 and 1000 from Dazz Rob S. I didn't know we had a Rob S. Is this our first Rob S?
I mean, it feels like it, doesn't it?
It feels like
we've had plenty of other Robs. Yeah, we've had other Robs.
We've had other Robs. We've had W's and other letters, but not an S.
There's a Rob X.
So welcome Rob S to the army of Robs that we have here. Bill, Gurinder, Terry, and another Bill. So thank you to Dazz, Rob S, Bill, Gurinder, Terry, and Bill. Thank you for thanking us.
Indeed. I'll say the names one more time. We got Dazz, Rob S, Bill, Gurinder, Terry, and a different Bill. So thank you all so much for those notes of gratitude and encouragement. We really appreciate them. And a big, big thank you to everybody who continues to listen and send in your questions.
In the news, HSU, or SHU, or SHU? I think it's probably how it's said, is running their first sale on the newest D15 Chimera and D15 supercharger subwoofers to coincide with AXPONA. AXPONA. The dual 15-inch driver sealed D15 Chimera on its own is $150 off, bringing the price down to $1,650 before shipping and tax. Shipping typically costs $99 within the United States. The D15 SC supercharger add-on, which turns the sealed D15 Chimera into a massive stacked ported subwoofer, is $150 off on its own.
Just $50.
I'm sorry, $50 off on its own, bringing the price down to $450. Shipping on just the supercharger is also typically $100.
Yes, because they basically share the exact same cabinet, and the vast majority of the weight and the physical dimensions of the box obviously are the same, and the vast majority of the weight is the cabinet itself. So the supercharger is not any cheaper to ship, even though it is clearly less expensive because it doesn't have all the electronics inside.
Right. But if you buy the D15 Chimera and the supercharger together as a bundle at the same time, you get $250 off right now, bringing the price down to $2,300 from $2,300 to $2,050. Shipping will cost $198 in the United States, because $199 times 2.
$99 times 2.
The sale won't last long, as AXPONA is already wrapped up. The sale prices are still in effect at the time of this recording. So it's such an interesting product. I'll be honest with you.
I mean, if you want crazy high output and crazy deep extension at about the lowest price you can possibly find right now, because the closest thing to this is like the dual 15-inch sub that Monoprice sells, the Monolith, because they got a massive refrigerator-sized, dual 15 stacked vertical one. So that's like about as close, but that's $2,500, and I don't think it's in stock because nothing over at Monoprice is in stock right now. So yeah, I mean, in terms of just bang for your buck, I haven't seen a price this good on a dual 15 with this type of output and extension capability. It's a worthy sale to recognize and note.
So it's got two side-firing drivers, but it's not ported, right? The Chimera is not
the
ported.
Regular D15 Chimera is a dual opposed, so the two 15-inch drivers are back-to-back and both pushing outward at the same time and both pulling inward at the same time, and it's a sealed configuration to begin with. Yes.
So then the supercharger that basically mounts to it, you take the amp off? Is that what happens?
Yeah, so you take the amp off the back of the D15 Chimera, and actually it stays on the D15 Chimera, but it goes to what used to be the top or what used to be the bottom. The amp gets repositioned there, and then the hole where the amp used to be on the back of the D15 Chimera becomes an airway that goes into the supercharger. So yes, you can sort of see it in the photos that I'm showing there, that you rotate the D15 Chimera to be laying horizontally, and what used to be the amplifier opening on the back there matches up with the opening on the supercharger, and it becomes a gigantic enormous vented system.
Oh, so the amp itself, so there is already a hole on the bottom.
Yeah,
or
there's a
plate on the bottom that you can take off.
That's right.
I mean, I don't think it's such an interesting design.
It is.
But it is such an engineer's solution to this problem.
Oh, yes.
You know what I mean?
That's not a surprise from Shu.
No, it's not. So if you're like, if you're an engineer, you're like, this is awesome. And if you're a normal person, you're like, I'm sorry, I have to do what?
Right.
I have to do, excuse you? Like, how is this supposed to work?
I really like the design of the D15 Chimera on its own. It's using, it's not literally the same cabinet as the VTF TN1 because it does have different openings, but it's I think it's the same dimensions as the TN1, so it's got a smaller footprint. It's like an 18-inch square footprint, so it's not exactly tiny to begin with, but that's still reasonably compact in terms of footprint on the floor. And then it's taller. It's not a cube. It's considerably taller than 18 inches normally standing. And I mean, yeah, this is sealed, but it's dual opposed 15-inch drivers. There's a lot of output and extension as it is. But if you want maximum output and extension on this thing, yeah, you can turn it on its side, you can reposition the amplifier, and you can match it up with the supercharger and have a crazy gigantic vented dual 15-inch sub.
Okay. So speaking of subwoofers, the new SVS 3000 Micro Revolution subwoofer is now available to order. Gloss Black is shipping now, but Gloss White won't ship until the end of the month. You can pre-order Gloss White now, though, if you're like, that's your jam. So their 3000 Micro is priced at $1,000 each, which actually doesn't sound that bad considering what you're getting here. So compared to the original 3000 Micro, the Revolution version is a tiny bit bigger. The cabinet itself is basically an 11-inch cube, but the non-removable covers for the drivers and the inputs on the back protrude a bit, so you'll basically want 1 cubic foot to perfectly fit the new Micro Revolution model, but don't put it in a 12-inch cube box, please. Don't shove it in a cabinet.
I mean, there's no ports to worry about. This one is sealed, and there's no option to turn it into ported. But yeah, you got drivers firing out both sides, and I wouldn't necessarily want to have
it in the open air, please. Thank you.
We've got an image of it next to its 3000 series family, the SB 3000 Revolution and the PB 3000 Revolution, and yeah, there's a little guy. It's a little guy. The 3000.
And honestly, the 2000. The 2000 Pro that I just set up in the other room. Yeah. I just, it's unimaginable. It almost feels like I didn't get enough subwoofer for my money. You know what I mean? It feels so small.
Right.
But you're actually paying for small. That's part of what you're paying for. You
absolutely are, yeah. There's a whole bunch of amplifier power in there.
Crazy to me compared to like I used to, when I would leave the room at my home theater, I would put my drink on top of my cylinder sub on the way out, so that when I came back, it would still be there for me. That's how big it was. It was like I stood up and put my drink on top of it and then left. It's crazy to me how small these things are. So that thing must be absolutely tiny. So the dual opposed drivers are larger now at 9 inches diameter, which is up from 8-inch diameters drivers in the original 3000 Micro. And the DSP controlled amplifier is beefed up to as well, going from 800 watts with a 2500 watt peak in the original to 1200 watts with 4000 watt peak in the new Micro Revolution, whatever it is.
And it does have XLR inputs in addition to RCA. It has RCA in and out, one of which is labeled as the dedicated LFE, but then it also has left and right XLR balanced inputs if you want to use it, and a trigger input on there as well. Controls are actually present on the back itself, so you can, of course, use SVS's app, but there are actual physical buttons on this as well. So yeah, the whole complement of control and input. Pretty nice.
So it's like a metal grill on these things are non-removable, as you said.
That's right, and it bulges out a bit. So even though the cabin, the wooden cabinet, the MDF cabinet itself is pretty much an 11-inch cube, there are these protrusions for the grills for the drivers, and a little bit for like the RCA plugs that stick out a tiny bit. So it doesn't become a perfect 11-inch cube anymore.
So those changes result in a clearly flatter and more extended frequency response, according to the SVS's own quasi-anechoic ground plane measurements. But the spec of a minus 3 dB at 20 hertz instead of 23 hertz is rather, let's just call it optimistic. At least anechoically speaking, it does appear to have a generally flat response down to about 25 hertz, though. Yeah. But at the size of the subwoofer,
I know, right?
That's crazy.
And I mean, like the improvement that they did, so I'm showing flicking back and forth, but we've got the original 3000 micro evolution on screen right now, or you can refer to it in the Flickr album. It would be the second of these frequency response graphs. These are SVS's own, but we have definitely seen that when independent third parties do CEA 2010 testing and compare it to SVS's own graphs, they do line up. SVS is not
close,
juicing these graphs to make them look more appealing. So yeah, when they claimed that the original 3000 micro was 23 hertz minus 3 dB extension, I'm like, no, it isn't. It's like a 32 hertz sub. And that's not surprising for a dual 8-inch sub of that size. That really was like an 11-inch cube because it was a tiny bit smaller. But yeah, I mean, what they've done with this increased DSP amplifier power and then the larger 9-inch drivers, I'm like, that is genuine 25 hertz extension. It is absolutely still outputting at 20 hertz, but I'm like, anechoically, that's not minus 3 dB when I'm looking at that. But in a room, right, you put this in a small enclosed room, you're going to have plenty of room gain. And yeah, I mean, 25 hertz easily. So definitely improved extension compared to the original 3000 micro.
Nice. So Paradigm's all-new Premier V2 series of speakers has been announced ahead of their release in June. Even though they're keeping the Premier series name and calling it V2, this new speaker lineup, was redesigned from the ground up and has more in common with the more expensive Founder series than the outgoing Premier V1 speakers. So there are 6 models in this new lineup, 2 floor standing towers, 2 centers, and 2 bookshelves. They all use the same new ALMAC tweeter, aluminum... I'm guessing magnesium? No. What is MAC? Is that
the MA magnesium? Is magnesium.
Okay. So AL-MAC tweeter, which is an aluminum magnesium alloy coated in ceramic. There's the C. I was trying to figure out what the C was. Yeah, right. Coated in ceramic. So you could cook on it. It's a new Teflon coating on it. That's so the sound waves slide off. On the tower and bookshelf models, the 1-inch tweeter is housed in an oblate spheroid waveguide to control dispersion, which somebody was super excited about using those 2 words. I'm going to be honest with you. Somebody was super excited. They're like that just sounds like it's on a space shuttle, oblate. Right. Oblate spheroid. The 2 center speaker models use a coaxial design with the tweeter embedded in the center of a 6-inch mid-range driver. Speaking of which, all models use the same 6-inch aluminum magnesium mid-range, or ALMAG.
That's right.
It's the MAC. The ALMAG. But as mentioned, the center speaker models are a coaxial design where the tower and bookshelf models put the mid-range behind Paradigm's PPA perforated phase aligning lens grill to control its dispersion to match the tweeter. So there you go. Low frequencies are handled by either a 6 or 7-inch carbon X drivers. Well, the X makes it better, for sure. The tower and bookshelf speakers are ported, and the towers get shock-absorbing outrigger feet. That's nice. I like outriggers.
Yeah.
Aesthetically and functionally, outriggers are awesome.
Right.
Usually they are immediately negated and made less awesome by spikes, but I like the fact that these don't seem to have them. The center speakers are sealed, but the larger one has a pair of 7-inch passive radiators. My lord. Good luck getting that in your
it's pretty much a tower turned on its side, which Paradigm is wont to do quite often.
Extension on all models goes up to 32 kilohertz on axis.
No, 23.
I'm 23. Sorry, I got that flipped. The 23 kilohertz on axis, or minus 3 dB, and 20 kilohertz at up plus or minus 30 degrees off axis, thanks to the waveguide. Bass extension is claimed to be right around 60 hertz on the bookshelf models, 50 hertz on the towers, and the large center, which is just a tower speaker. The smaller center, which is also labeled as an LCR speaker and can stand vertically or horizontally, is spec'd at 75 hertz minus 3 dB since it's a sealed design. That's almost certainly the speaker I'm going to like the best, I think, out of this whole thing.
Yep. Very versatile.
That one seems like the one.
And you're not terribly worried about boundary placement and those types of things. So, yeah, that might be the most versatile is that the left, center, right.
So the finish options include piano black, black walnut, walnut, and satin white. So let's go through the model numbers and prices. The smallest Premier 120B V2 bookshelf is $400 each. So that must be the smallest bookshelf. Yes, it is 120B. So
and even the smallest of them has dual binding posts. They all have dual binding posts on the back of these.
One tweeter, two woofers. Is that what the
I don't
120?
Think so.
No,
I don't think
be.
Paradigm really tries to describe what's going on. They pretty much just went, the bigger you go, the higher the number goes, and these are the 20s because it's the V2. I think that's about it. Yeah,
I don't like it.
But $400 each for the smallest of the bookshelf models. That's not too bad for this. Is not Paradigm's entry level. They have the Monitor series as their entry level, and I suppose you could even call the Cinema series, which are their satellite speakers.
Right.
You could theoretically call that the entry level, but mostly for like the full size speakers, the Monitor series is their entry level. So these are $400 each, $800 a pair, starting in the Premier series. So that's these days that's not crazy for one step above the entry level.
Oh, that's a waveguide that these things are in?
Except for the centers. Yeah. The centers, that's a coaxial.
Those towers look like they have, it's coaxial, but it's not.
It's not.
That's interesting.
That's right.
The distance between the tweeter and the mid-range seems excessive as well. So that's
you're going to be relying on that waveguide. That is for sure.
Let me see here. I have to scroll back down. The larger Premier 220B V2 bookshelf is $550 each. The Premier 720F, just 7 out of nowhere, huh? 720F with F for floor standing V2 tower is $1,000 each. The larger Premier 820F V2 tower is $1,300 each. The Premier 520 LCR V2 is $900 each. I don't love it. The larger Premier 620C V2 is $1,300 each. $900 each for that LCR, huh?
For the LCR. It's the only sealed one. It doesn't have its deep bass extension because it's sealed. It's a coaxial mid-range and tweeter. That's what's going on with that one.
All these photos look like AI. I just... all the photos on it's a Flickr album? I guess it's a Flickr. It says Flickr at the top. That's so crazy.
I mean, these aren't officially launched yet. This was like an announcement at AXPONA. They're coming out in June.
Oh, they do have spikes, but they're spikes that are
on springs.
Spikes
on springs. Yep. It's not the most ideal way to do a spring loaded thing. It's still going down to.
You want to look like you're cool with your spikes, but you want to actually have some decoupling. All right.
It's still a lot of pressure per square inch. Yep.
Yeah. One thing to note is that according to Paradigm's own specifications, these do not appear to be high output speakers. The sensitivity is towards the higher end of normal, right around 90 dB per 1 watt, 1 meter anechoic. But power handling is rather low. The bookshelf models only take 130 watts peak. Someone's going to go on Reddit and really have a problem with this. It's 70 to 80 watts continuous. The LCR is spec'd at 120 watts peak and 80 watts continuous. The larger center goes up to 180 watts peak and 120 watts continuous, and the towers will take 180 watts continuous and either 220 watts or 250 watts peak, which we flip that around, which is throwing me off. They should be an easy load for any amplifier, but it's just something to be aware of. Yeah, I don't know that would, unless you're going to really put them far away, I don't know that I would really worry about that personally.
I mean,
these are kind of pricey.
The sort of over 200 watts power handling and then a little bit over 90 dB sensitivity for the towers and the large center, which is basically a tower turned on its side. So, I mean, those are going to be reasonable. You're going to be able to, if you have 200 watt amplifiers, you're going to be able to sit, 3 to 4 meters away from those speakers and still hit reference volumes. But yeah, if you're looking at the bookshelves or the LCR, those are really 2 meter max speakers for hitting full cinema reference volume. You really can't go much more farther away than that. I mean, maybe up to around 10 feet. That's sort of the limitations. So given the price points on these, I would love a little bit more output capability. These are reasonably limited in output capability. That said, Paradigm does tend to be quite truthful in their specifications, and some other manufacturers, like to exaggerate a little bit, because, I mean, most would round that 80-watt figure up to 100 in a heartbeat, because it's not as though if you put 100 watts continuous into it, it's literally going to melt and die, in normal playback. But Paradigm's going by the, FTC mandated specifications for exactly how much heat and distortion can happen. And it's 80 watts. That's what we can do on a continuous basis, and they're truthful in that. So yeah, all things considered, it's not like these are unusual in any way, but I was kind of hoping a little bit, because I mean, one of the things I've kind of praised Paradigm for is particularly in that monitor series, which is, not crazy expensive. They look nice, so they're affordable, and they sound good, and they're a little bit more efficient than is typical for their price point with reasonable power handling. So I like those Paradigm monitor series for those reasons, because if you're in a little bit larger space, but you don't have a lot of money to spend, they're one way to be able to achieve a bit more output without having to need crazy high wattage amplifiers that cost more, because they're a bit more efficient. These ones are a little bit more run-of-the-mill. The sensitivity is a little bit higher than normal, but it's closer to normal than not. And then the power handling is not, crazy high. So yeah, not super high output speakers.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about these. You know what I want? I want bookshelf speakers that also have outriggers.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
I don't know how fun that's going to be on speaker stands. A lot of speaker stands.
I don't really care about that part
of
it.
I would like them
base. Because I think a lot of people put them on a shelf someplace, sure. And I think it would be cool to have that as being part of it, at least an option. Comments from our listeners. Infinite Gary found another non-audio video Panasonic branded product in his basement while he was sorting through things. Yeah, Gary, man, I think there should be a show of just people going through your basement and finding stuff, because I can only imagine what's down there. And this is a Panasonic emergency light. His father used to work for Panasonic many years ago in their telephone division. Cordless phones? I mean, what Panasonic phones were? That's such an odd series of words.
They do have cordless phones. It's definitely
I'm sure they do. They
product,
made lots of things back in the day. So there's every possibility he'll find more unusual Panasonic products in his basement of stuff.
And I do like that it says, remove light goes on, replace light goes off. So it's an emergency light where you can't even have the wherewithal to flick a flashlight switch. That is beyond your capabilities in this emergency. This is it hangs on the wall, and as soon as you pull it off the wall, the light goes on. And if you somehow go back into the building that is experiencing an emergency at this point, if you put it back in its holder and the light goes off, there is no button to push. Although I don't know what that white thing is. It kind of looks like a button or a slider to me, but apparently it isn't.
It's not. It's vestigial. That's what that is.
But at least this, if you showed me a kind of tubular Panasonic branded thing, at some point I might guess that they released a flashlight. It's not outside of the realm of possibility.
Would not have guessed it worked like this, though.
Right. But it's an electronic device. Gary did mention this uses 2 D-cell batteries. So yeah, it's going back a ways. You don't see many products still using D-cell batteries.
How large is this thing?
Hefty.
My God. I thought it was some double A's or maybe triple A's in there. That's what it looks like.
You don't know what type of emergency this is, Tom. You might need an improvised weapon. A couple of D batteries and a metal tube.
If it's a zombie apocalypse, you'll be able to defend yourself.
But
anyways, he also sent a picture
versus
of
the shoe
Spark.
Polisher. I might have actually guessed a flashlight at some point.
Eventually, yes. So Sparky the puppy is growing rather quickly. So check out our Flickr album or our YouTube video to see a picture of Sparky, who looks like a cotton ball with eyes.
He does.
There you go.
But no longer looks like a real freshly newborn puppy anymore. Growing fast.
There you go. So let's get to the questions for this week. Dazz asked, does Rob have any photos of his custom Ascend acoustic speakers? He's been imagining what they look like from Rob's descriptions, and he'd like to see if they actually match what he's been picturing in his mind. Also, which speaker positions are they? Just the front, left, center, and right, correct? So are you showing the pictures already?
Not just yet. I'm holding on to it. It's a tease.
It is a tease. So why don't you describe them first, so people can get it in their minds, and then you can show the picture. So nice and descriptive, and take your time because I'm gonna need more coffee anyway. So I'm gonna go do that.
So yes, my most customized speakers are my front, left, center, and right speakers. So I went for the Sierra Horizon speakers. That's the platform it's based on. So it's using all the same drivers as what you would find in the Sierra Horizon. I did go for the RAL ribbon tweeter upgrade. So it's got the 2070 RAL ribbon tweeters that are in those. But it was the form factor. It was the cabinet dimensions that I wanted customized on my front, left, center, right Sierra Horizon speakers. So if you take the regular Sierra Horizon center, and so you can find, I didn't include photos of that here, but if you go to their Ascend Acoustics website and look up the Sierra Horizon center, what I wanted was one that wasn't so deep from front to back. That was the main dimension that I needed changed. But if the internal volume is going to remain the same, and the depth is from front to back is going to shrink, but the height is also going to remain the same, you can imagine that the only thing you can do in order to make that happen is to make that speaker wider. So the photos I'm actually going to show, these come from when they were being built in Ascend's factory, but I'll put up on screen now. Here is my customized Ascend Acoustics Sierra Horizon center speaker. And then for the front, left, and right, similarly, I wanted them to be taller and not as wide. I didn't want the towers. I wanted stand-mounted speakers for my front, left, and right. And I wanted, the output capabilities of the Sierra towers at the time. They were just called the Sierra Towers, again, with the RAL ribbon tweeters. But yeah, I wanted a vertical form factor and a stand-mounted speaker. So took the Horizon, and again, so if you're going to make them taller and narrower, in this case, the same depth was fine, but you're not going to have the tweeter mid-range side by side when oriented vertically. You're going to have them stacked vertically instead. You end up with my customized Sierra Horizon left and right speakers. I opted for the original design that occurs in the towers, where the mid-range driver is actually above the tweeter. So yep, these can look a little bit awkward, but I have them on kind of a wide IKEA, like was meant to just be a component stand. And so that's holding them just fine. They're not on any sort of flimsy speaker stand. So yeah, I've actually got a couple of shots of just the cabinets when the drivers weren't installed just yet. So you can see the depth of that Sierra Horizon center there. And then you can see what the cabinets look like side by side. I just went for a matte black finish because I didn't want any sort of reflections on that. So it's just the slightly textured matte black finish. The crossovers also were customized a little bit because Dave is not going to release a speaker out into the wild without measuring the thing first. And because the cabinet dimensions did change a little bit, he did slightly tweak and customize the crossovers that are in my speakers. So they are definitely custom speakers that you can't just order off the website, but Dave will happily accommodate. There was an upcharge. There's absolutely an upcharge, but it really was like just cost. He didn't make a penny of profit on the customization. He truly just charged me cost. I don't know if that would still be the same today, but given that Ascend has avoided raising their prices as much as they honestly should have, given component prices in the world, yeah, that's just the way Dave runs business over there at Ascend. So those aren't the only customized speakers in my setup. I also got a pair of bookshelf speakers that are 100% the regular stock Sierra 1 cabinets. So no customization to the cabinets themselves, other that they're in the matte black finish, which is, a color option choice that I went for. But I had them put the same mid-range and RAL ribbon tweeter into those cabinets, originally to serve as my front wides, because I wanted all 5 of my front speakers to be completely, perfectly, as closely timbre matched as they ever could possibly be, despite positioning rendering that moot, but I went for it anyway. These days I'm using them as my surrounds, and I'm doing my own separate outboard crossover between my surrounds and my subwoofers, which are directly side by side, and that way I have as close a timbre match in my main 5 speakers as I possibly can. Before I did that, I forgot, I got a picture of the back, so the binding posts on my center are way over to the side. That was to accommodate being able to push it as close to the central stand on my TV stand as possible, so the binding posts were not centered on the back, and you can see the depth of that customized center. And then this is not my TV. This was Dave's own TV, where he was testing it out in a sense testing room. But you can see the width of that center is basically the same as, I think that's a 50-inch TV that he had there at the time. So pretty darn close to that same width. It's basically a tower turned on its side. But yeah, here's a picture of my customized Sierra 1 Sierra-1 speakers or Sierra-1 cabinets, but with the larger RAL ribbon tweeter in them and the dedicated mid-range driver that came from the Sierra Tower / Sierra Horizon. So there are some photos of my customized speakers, Dazz. I don't know if they match what you were picturing, but there they are. They're all black boxes, but they're different shapes than what you find on the website.
They're still black boxes, though.
Yes.
All right. Scrolling. In Dazz's basement home theater, a 120-inch screen with a 16:9 aspect ratio is about as large as he can physically go. He is currently using an Epson 5040 UB, and he had previously always thought that his next display upgrade would be an even better projector. But since he knows his own taste, and the only sort of projector upgrade he would be happy with would be a big jump in price, which is code for JVC. And that got him thinking. If he's going to spend the neighborhood of 10 grand for his next display upgrade, what if it were some sort of flat panel instead of a new projector? He had a quick look around, and there are 110, 115-inch mini LED backlit LCD TV models from Hisense and TCL that come in under 10 grand now. But do we recommend those? And if you were to tell us that 10 grand were his max budget, which brands and technologies would we tell him to consider? Well, TCL and Hisense, I think, would be the two that we can tell you to consider. But what do we got, Rob?
Thank you, Tom. Okay, well, I was just talking there into a muted microphone for a while.
I was like, what? Am I going insane?
No.
I'm looking for all the settings because I usually screw something up. So if you're wondering what was just happening.
I had to cough, and I muted, and I forgot to unmute, so there you go. That's going to be a fun one. I should probably edit that out, but why do it? Because we're referring to it now.
I kind of want you to leave it in there just so that everybody knows that this is the low-effort podcast. We are not editing things.
That's going to be a long silence, though, there, because that was a good 30 seconds.
I was like watching your lips move, and I'm pressing the volume buttons, I'm my mute button. I'm going, what is happening? I unplugged my headphones and plugged it back in.
I think I'm going to edit out a little bit there because the people who are not watching on YouTube,
you got to leave a little bit of that because it was excessive. A little bit of it. You got to leave it there.
I don't think all of it. That's going to have to be it.
I got to scroll back down.
But to reiterate for what no one heard besides myself, because Tom didn't hear it. It wasn't just the recording. I didn't have my microphone on. So yeah, to begin with, yes, TCL and Hisense, basically your only games in town for going above 100 inches at under $10,000 if we're talking flat panels. But yeah, I was saying I'm not the biggest fan of Hisense as a brand overall. There are more instances of, like customer service issues or quality control issues or warranty issues, those types of things. If you're just going for like, I need the lowest price and I need maximum light output and I need the biggest size, maximum light at the lowest prices, like Hisense is your bag, man. Like absolutely go grab one. I love recommending Hisense for outdoor TVs on like a covered veranda or deck or something like that, because you can buy 12 of them for the same price as a single outdoor rated TV. And it's like, so you replace it every single year, you're still going to come out ahead cost wise. So yeah, that type of thing. But if you're going for, I really want top bang for the buck, I still care very much about performance and longevity and quality control and all of those sorts of things. I tend to favor TCL a little bit over Hisense myself. A lot of that is just sort of, anecdotal in that I don't have a lot of hard data to back that up. So yes, I'm going a bit by feeling there, but for what it's worth, I would lean a little bit more towards TCL. Also, if you are going under $10,000, Hisense is going to be a 110-inch TV, and TCL can get you a 115-inch TV. So it's that much larger, and that is not insignificant. 5 inches diagonal is not insignificant. So yes, the option right now would be TCL's 115-inch QM7K. And so, yeah, this is not the top of the line, right? We know the 8K series and the 9K series and the X11 series were all above it in TCL's 2025 lineup. But this is the one that gets you this sort of size at under $10,000. That is a sale price, a clearance price right now, because the new QM7L series is about to come out, and that is going to be the only regular mini LED backlit, although it's super quantum dots in the QM7L versus the regular quantum dots in the QM7K.
Super. They're super.
But when the 115-inch QM7L comes out, it is not going to be under $10,000. So that is where the 7K right now would be the deal. So yeah, that is one to consider. And like the QM7K was not quite as good as 2024's QM8 series, but it was definitely a noticeable improvement over the QM7 series from 2024, and so it fell sort of in between, and it's not a bad choice at all. The other one that I do like to consider is going back to 2024. It was the first of the 115 inches. It was the QM8 series, the 891G at the time, back in 2024. And you can still get those because they've never done a new 8 series in the 115-inch size. But Value Electronics is maybe the only place to get one, and it's $18,000. Now, you got more local dimming zones. You got higher peak brightness. It's mainly the more local dimming zones and the slightly different LCD panel that's used between the 7 series and the 8 series. Those are the reasons that I still kind of favor the QM891G in out terms. But yeah, price is a consideration. It's nearly half the price to get yourself the QM7K. So I would not say no to a QM7K. And compared to an Epson projector, there is no question that it's oodles brighter, and then the black levels are deeper, and when you have black bars at the top and bottom or a fade to total black, because it is full array local dimming and it's got around 2200 zones of local dimming, you can get genuine inky deep black. But this is not completely free from any haloing. Haloing is a little bit possible, and if you're sitting quite close to the QM7K, it does not have the WHVA panels, the wide supposed to give you wider viewing angles panels that you'll find in the newest 8 series. So you can actually sit close enough to the 7K that you just alone in your seat looking at this 115-inch TV from the left edge to the center to the right edge is not perfectly uniform in brightness, not due to the panel itself actually being uneven in its brightness, but because of the difference in viewing angle to your eye from a screen that's large. It's possible to make that difference. So that's what I mean. It's like you've got minor compromises, but there's no question that this thing has higher contrast, way higher brightness, and deeper black levels than any projector, including a JVC. This has deeper blacks and way higher brightness than a JVC projector at very similar price point. 115 inches of a flat panel versus 120 inches of a projection screen is nothing, because even if you put it on a wall mount, there's going to be a little bit of added depth to the screen itself and the wall mount that'll essentially make that field of view identical to the projection screen that's plastered completely flat on the wall. Or you can, put it on a stand. These do have feet. You can put it on a stand. It has to be a wide and sturdy stand because this is a heavy TV and a wide stance on the feet that it has. But it can be done that way, and then you can have pretty much any field of view that you want. So yeah, those would be the ones to consider. The QM7K makes a lot of sense. I would not say no to it. You are going to have to accept that it's not the absolute flagship. But the flagship for 2026 that comes in a 115-inch size is going to be the RM9L. There's not going to be a QM9L series. It's going to be the RM9L series, and this is going to be TCL's only RGB mini LED backlit TV. And strangely, TCL themselves are kind of like, we're not really in love with RGB mini LED. They're like, we're going to do it because everyone else is doing it, but they're like, we like our super quantum dots better. And but to get the 115-inch size, but the RM9L at 115 is not going to be anywhere near $10,000. So yeah, there you go. The QM7K is staying around. The QM7L is going to be coming out, but for $10,000, the QM7K, I like it. It's a tremendous bang for the buck.
So Dazz intends to rebuild the seating riser for his back row of seats. He also plans to build a seating riser for the house where his son and his son's friends are living. They must be at college or something. Anyways, he wants both of these risers to be floating and removable if needed, no permanent installations. He considers himself an experienced builder. Well, better than me, my man. He's already got the tools and knowledge on that end, but he admits he's never been all that good at the planning part of it, and he doesn't want to just wing it with these new risers. So can we point him in the direction of some good plans that he could follow? He wants the riser in his own place to be 12 inches in height, and the one at his son's place needs to be 15 and a half. So don't worry, they have plenty of ceiling height. I'm not worried. It's not my problem. They need to hold reclining furniture and potentially a lot of weight. But the trick is that they also need to be movable enough that they could be moved into a new location in the future without too much trouble. They do not need to double as base traps, although he figures he will fill them with insulation regardless. And he does not have any desire for them to resonate or add any sort of tactile sensation. Inert risers are what he's looking for. He's already familiar with how to build a deck, so perhaps just a scaled down version of that. But the sort of deck he would build with low transfers and beefy structural support would undoubtedly be very difficult to move elsewhere in the future. So do we have some better plans that we could point to? So one of the groups that I work with, one of the improv groups that I work with, they have a removable stage that they put in places. And the way this works is it's like 4 or maybe 6 rectangles that are not that heavy.
Modular is the key.
Yeah. And they put together, and then there's like a hook that's embedded into it, so that you put a like an Allen wrench into 2 spots on one edge, and it hooks into the one right next to it. So you turn it like a quarter turn or a half turn, and the hook comes out, I think, and it like just so that they don't move apart on you. In your case, what you could do is just build modular ones, and then using just straps like you would use for a just connect anything really before
like a tie down in a truck bed type of thing.
Yeah, sort of thing. Just not straps like that, but like metal straps that you could screw into the risers on the edges or on the top before you put carpet or whatever over the top of the thing, or even as you do it, you can you could then connect them all together. But then to remove them, you'd have to remove a couple of screws, but that's pretty easy. And then you have removable things. So instead of building one big riser, what you should be planning to do is build multiple small risers that can be attached together and then detached afterwards. And yes, they can be floating. You can fill them with insulation. They will be heavy because you will have to overbuild them in order for them to be inert, but they don't have to be crazy heavy. So make them smaller ones that you attach together is the way to go.
I definitely don't see any way that these are not going to be modular when you want them to be, potentially removable and transportable. So it's going to have to be modular. So for anyone who doesn't want to build their own, there are a couple of options that I, am happy to point people to over at HT Market. They have a modular platform. They have a couple of different heights that are available. These ones, they do not come carpeted because they also just sell rugs that are cut to fit, and they've got a sort of little what would you call? I mean, like a frame sort of around the perimeter of it that comes up and out a little bit, so you can tuck LED lights underneath if you want to, and then you can put one of their cut to fit rugs on the top and just fit it there. You can put a little bit of double-sided tape if you want to hold it in place, but it's nothing super fancy. So they charge $800 per section, so that does add up quickly. They're made from just pure maple hardwood, so this is not MDF or even plywood, so that's a bit of the price, and then most of the price is just the gigantic shipping weight that goes into that. But they made theirs a dimension of 2 feet wide by 7 feet long for each individual section, and I think that's about right. Obviously just by dimensional lumber, going, 8 feet long would be easier, wouldn't have to cut any links, but that might be a little bit too long depending on the space that you've got, right? If your front row is going in front of the front edge of this riser, then how much do you want sticking out back behind your seats? But when you go for a riser that's only 6 feet long, a lot of people think that's all I really need. The seat's about 2 feet deep. I have 4 feet in front of me. It's like, once you're in a reclining sort of theater seat, it's like you want a little bit of extra behind that recliner, and you need a little bit more in front of it when you think. So I kind of like the 7 foot length that HT Market went for. So I just grabbed some screenshots from their YouTube video because these are a modular design. They're relatively easy to slide across your floor and even lift up. They've got the little lip edge, and that's just a painted edge. On the outsides there, and then the middle section, we got the underside. So I mean, they didn't go overboard on this thing, right? This is basically 24 inch by 24 inch. That's the spacing for the outside perimeter, and then the internal joist to support the weight. They just did pocket screws for everything like that, and then they have these corner braces, and they put some little rubber feet, on the end of those, or you can do the hard feet if you want to slide them, or you can do rubber feet if you want a little bit of damping. And absolutely, you'd want to put some insulation into these cavities that are in there. Otherwise, it is going to resonate a bit. But these are not overbuilt in any regard. but that allows them to still be transportable. It means the weight is not absolutely insane when you do it that way. And then, they just did pocket screws on the top as a way of connecting the sections together. So similar idea to what Tom said, but this is just keeps it all flush fit and everything like that, so that underneath the carpet, the rug, you won't fit it. Over at 4 Seating, they have a very similar idea, but theirs comes fully carpeted. Similar price, $815 per section, but their sections are a little bit smaller. Their sections are, again, about 2 feet wide, but then they're only about 6 feet long. So that's just something to keep in mind. The other one I wanted to mention is that you do need to be cognizant of, code for steps. You're not supposed to have steps that are, I think it's 8.5 is the absolute maximum height. But, typically they say keep it under 8. Usually you're aiming for about 7.5. So even on a 12-inch riser, it's like, okay, 6-inch step and then another 6 inches up to the top of the riser.
If you have a single step in your house, I'll be honest with you. If you have a single step in your house, you should go measure it, because the people in your house are going to be used to raising their foot up that much.
Right.
And if you make your step higher in your home theater because you're like, oh, well, it's not evenly just or whatever.
Yeah.
It's going to make somebody trip. So just if you have a single step in your house, which I think Dazz does, then match it to that at the very least.
On the 15.5-inch ones that you mentioned for your son, it's like, you're definitely going to want to step on there, because that's basically 8.25 inches by 8.25 inches. So the 4 Seating one, they actually like individually sell the steps. You can just attach those separately. That's one of the options they have there. So one thing you can do, because you said you were looking for plans, you can basically just look at what 4 Seating and what HT Market have done and more or less copy that, customize the sizes that you want. But that's the type of construction they're doing. And then I did find another tutorial online that I thought was quite reasonable. They did actually secure their frame to the walls, but it's not necessary. And this just allows you to have sort of a sectional construction that I think makes a lot of sense. So they sort of have these bottom framing members that go directly to the floor. And again, they secured them to the walls in this particular tutorial, but it's not vitally necessary. So you have sort of, the long sections that are in contact with the floor, they're going left to right. And then a second set of joists that goes above that, these going front to back. So that gives you a nice, strong, sturdy, cross-sectional type of connection. They're all just doing angled screws and butt end screws on the ends of these things. But then glue and screw down after putting in the insulation, your top plywood. It is a good idea to have 2 layers of plywood on the top. It doesn't have to be more than 1/2 inch, but glue it and screw it so that you don't have squeaks and you don't have creaks, and have the insulation inside. And you don't have to overdo it. They went for 16-inch on center. 24-inch on center is not really a problem. That's absolutely fine for this sort of thing. Just as long as you have regular, good, sturdy, straight, not warped building materials.
Straight, by the way.
And so there you go. They put a step in these ones because they went for about 14-inch height on these, so they have 7-inch steps going up on this one, just dividing it in half. But if you follow those plans, we'll have the link to both of those. Then I think you'll be in pretty good shape. But this one you'd want to make modular, right, instead of the completely built in the plans for the ones that I just showed. But you can combine the HT Market or the 4 Seating and then the DIY one and come away with a pretty good. And
I would consider. Not being so dogmatic about how high you want the riser to be, unless you're willing to risk people tripping and falling,
right?
Because that is certainly what's going to happen. Somebody, even if you're like, oh well, there's going to be an itty bitty lip at the bottom there. People are going to step, and then they're going to think it's going to be further away than this. It's going to create problems. So you're going to end up having to pick a height based on the step height, rather than like, oh, I need this to be 15.5 inches exactly. Well, maybe it's going to be 18 because you need two steps, or 3 steps or whatever.
And I agree with Tom, like having it match the steps that are in the rest of the house, because it's not just the step height, it is also the tread length. You get used to if the whole house has, narrow little steps, not very deep little steps, and then on your riser platform, you have like a much deeper step from front to back, it's like somebody's going to catch their heel or catch their toe when they're on that, because you just get the muscle memory of when I'm in this house, all the steps in here are shallow, and then all of a sudden this one isn't, or vice versa, right? All of the steps have a fairly deep length to them, and then you put a itty bitty, shallow little step on the riser, and somebody's going to step right over that thing and twist an ankle. So,
Rob S. Rob S. can unfortunately commiserate with my plumbing situation. He had a pipe burst and flood his house. as well. Mine did not flood the house, but you know what that means.
Yeah.
And it flooded his home theater. So he's taking it as an opportunity to remodel and upgrade his old HD-only setup to 4K and all the latest formats. So he's trying to figure out which overhead speakers to buy for his new Atmos speaker setup. He already has on hand a set of 7 monoprice monolith THX speakers, including the monoprice monolith THX 365T and 365C front speakers. He has tried using the upward firing drivers that are built into this 365T stand mount speakers, but he was not satisfied by them. So he wants actual speakers either in or mounted on his ceilings. He doesn't want to mount the speakers on his walls, and the ceiling height is a bit low, so in-ceiling speakers likely make the most sense. Monoprice seems to be out of stock on almost all of their speakers, and he wasn't sure if there's a monolith THX model that suits his installation needs anyways, and you really don't need that for overhead speakers. So, even though monoprice is generally pretty inexpensive overall compared to other things,
right?
Their THX models are more expensive. His concern is wanting to avoid any sort of timbre mismatch. Whatever he gets for his overhead speakers, he wants them to blend with his monolith THX speakers as perfectly as possible, so that panning sounds like overhead are seamless and a perfect match. Well, dude, you're never going to know this. I mean, you'd have to lie on your back. You'd have to lie on you'd have to follow the sound. Your chair would have to recline with it, and so that your ears were facing all
planetarium seats.
Those speakers. Yeah. Anyways, price-wise, he'd want something in the same sort of price category as the THX speakers, the monolith ones, and his room size is 14.5 by 18 with a ceiling height of being just 7 foot 8 inches. So that we suggest, I mean, the go-to for us has always been, even though they seem to be discontinued, but we can still find them everywhere.
So far, we can still get them.
The Sonance Mag series speakers.
That's right.
Let's just be really super honest here. It is the whole idea of overhead speakers was to be, it was never in designed with the idea of having perfect timbre mismatch all the way throughout your home theater. The idea here was that, hey, there are overhead speakers in some people's rooms. What if we use them, sort of thing? I'm not saying that they weren't going to recommend that you buy overhead speakers, but at the time of the release of Atmos, it was designed in mind with what was available for overhead speakers. And the reality is that there's not a lot of stuff going on up there, and the stuff that is going on up there isn't really
critical.
Well, yeah, it's not like there's this. Even with the pans, it's not like it's, music or something like that. It's
also it has to be mixed and mastered so that you can play it back on right down to a stereo setup. Yeah. And there's nothing that was so critical to physically come out of overhead speakers that it ruins the experience if that's not where it comes from. It's like it all has to be able to be mixed down all the way to 5'1" for sure, and then stereo, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I mean, I thought of the Mag 6 first, of course. That is kind of my go-to. But I'm like, well, what else do we need? Because, I mean, honestly, the timbre match is really good here. Both of them are really quite neutral. To get the THX certification, you have to be aiming for a pretty neutral sound. Yeah. And these Sonance in-ceiling speakers are a neutral sound. What I've always liked most about the Mag series speakers from Sonance is that you'll find a lot of in-ceiling speakers where you can, with your finger, aim the tweeter. And that is the case here. The tweeter in the Mag 6 is independently aimable. But you can also aim the woofer. And I have always disliked aiming only the tweeter while the woofer stays stationary. I'm like, if you insist that you really want to aim your speakers, I'm like, move it all. move all or nothing. Angle the whole speaker, or don't angle just the tweeter all by itself. I've never liked that solution. So here I like that you can leave the tweeter alone and then angle the entire woofer and tweeter structure together if you want to. I insist that, especially we know this is going to be a retrofit, and it's probably an attic above from the sounds of it. It's like, yeah, you either way, you want to have the back cans. And so they're only $60 a pair for the Mag 6. And then right now, the Mag 6 themselves are on sale for $150 a pair. So we're well below the sort of price threshold that you were dealing with, $400 or $500 per speaker. Normally, that's the MSRP on these speakers, but the Sonance Mag 6 are rarely sold at that full price over at Best Buy. Now, the thing is, your budget does allow, if you really wanted to go to the larger Mag 8. Those are on a really good sale over at Best Buy right now, $250 for a pair of the Mag 8. And then it's not such a great deal on their back cans at $130
like 5
a pair.
feet away from these speakers.
But yeah, you've got a low ceiling and not like you don't have a room where the dimensions are such that these are way far in front of you or way far behind you. So I think the Mag 6 are the way to go. You're saving a pile of money. Absolutely get the back cans. I insist upon that, but there's no way that that's breaking your budget. And I was like, do we need an alternative to that? Because like, there's nothing that's going to cost less and do any better. So those are the ones. Go get some Mag 6s and their back cans.
I'm going to put into the response to your question on our links on our website an article I wrote about how you best place upward firing Atmos modules.
Right.
And this is one of the reasons why I think it's a terrible idea to have them integrated into a speaker, because
built into your speakers,
the place where you put them for them to work the best and the place where you put your speaker to work the best are often not the same place. And this will kind of explain to you why it is that, yes, it can work. Upward firing modules can work. They don't work the way that you think they do most of the time.
Right.
But they certainly need to be placed with thought and care,
or
they won't work at all.
There may be, ironically, the most critical of placement of any speakers, other than, I don't know, maybe your center speaker. Like that.
Or we could just shove 700 drivers into a sound bar and call it Atmos. Whichever works for you. But I also put in here an article for about aimable tweeters, which where I fall on this is don't. Basically, face them straight down. You are close enough. You're going to be within.
You need to do anything other than aim these straight down.
So I just want to say, if you're like, well, I can aim the whole thing, just like Rob said, is the best way to do it. You can aim the whole thing. Where should I aim it? Straight down is where you should aim it. In
this case, for sure.
That's where you should aim it.
I mean, I don't blame Rob for 1 second for saying I tried the upward firing.
Yes. Oh no.
And I was like, it didn't sound that great. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. So
that makes total sense. So I'm gonna put a couple articles in there to help you out for the understanding part of it. Bill's Denon AVR 1610 receiver is on its last legs. I'm shocked. That receiver is a couple of years old. The front right channel has gone very quiet, though not entirely dead. He tried swapping speakers, and the issue remained with whatever he connected to the front right output of this receiver. He'd like to have more HDMI inputs anyway, so he figures it's time for an upgrade. We previously helped him tweak his system a bit with subwoofer placement, using the SVS PB12 Plus and putting some pads underneath his front speakers and getting a center speaker tilted to aim it at the listeners. So we're looking at pictures of this. He's got a TV above a mantle. His speakers are on either side of that mantle, so everything's very close. And that center is diminutive, but that's fine.
Kind of needs to be. There's not a lot of space between the bottom of the TV and the top of the mantle.
Not going to fit Rob's stupidly large center.
No, you are not.
He's sticking with a 5.1 speaker configuration, so that's all the new receiver needs to be able to do, and to have at least 4 HDMI inputs, which I think these days it would be hard to find one that doesn't have at least 4 HDMI inputs. The setup is over to one side of his great room, so it's all open concept and around 5,000 cubic feet in total. He was initially hoping to keep the price down around $400. Well, that's optimistic. But having a quick look around, prices have gone up on everything. He's willing to part with a max of $600, but keeping it close to $500 would be better, though. So he mainly just looked at Denon options. Is Onkyo still having overheating issues? Man, that is decades ago at this point. I mean, it is a long time ago.
I'm happy to say no on what is their current lineup, which is about to be discontinued because they did announce the new replacement lineup that's coming later this year. But yeah, on their current lineup, there seem to be no issues as far as that goes. They've done a good job. They have definitely improved since those old days.
So he found a refurbished Denon X1700H within his budget. Could he go with that older model, or does the 1800H have something super important at its higher price? And what about lower tier models like the S670H? What do we recommend? So you are actually in a situation where like that DRAC, whatever, art would be like, if you
ain't getting it for $600,
way out of your budget, out of your budget. But in a great room with limited speaker placement options and those sort of things, I mean, you have the wrong speakers for it. It's way out of your budget. But just remarking that in a great room with this sort of system that you're going for, DRAC, this is what DRAC art was built for. So the question that I ask myself when somebody asks me what should I buy is first budget, which you have provided, and then what actually will make a sonic difference.
Sure.
So many times for me, I'm most interested in room correction and that sort of thing because I know that if I get the room correction I want, I'm going to end up with all the other things I need.
Right. Yeah.
Like I
You're
won't have to worry
automatically
about
going to be higher in the lineup. So.
Yeah. In your case, room correction really isn't going to make that much of a difference. I mean,
it's not going to be a big change within the budget that you've limited it to.
Well, even outside of that budget, I mean, even if you went all the way up to Drac Art, like even if you're like, I can spend infinity money on my receiver, I want to get the best one possible, I'd still be like, oh, can you spend some of it on speakers?
Right.
You know, can you spend some of it on making a new room in your house? So I don't know that I would ever really recommend that you spend a ton of money on a receiver in this because you really can just get away with basic room correction to help you set up levels, which all of them can do.
Sure.
And just make sure it has all the features you really want or really need. In your case, I'm not looking at something that looks like it's connected to a game system. I'm not looking at something that really needs a high-end room correction. If you're looking for 4 HDMI inputs, and that TV doesn't exactly look like it's cutting edge, just based on the size, because it's hard to find something that small these days. I'm thinking that if you are sure that the S670H isn't lacking a feature that you will absolutely need, then maybe you can go with that. But the 1700 is probably just fine.
Yeah, honestly, I think you landed on it, whether by happenstance or whether by a lot of research on your part. I'm not sure how much, but the 1700 happened to be, because that was the year everything was changing over and HDMI 2.1 and all that stuff. So there were some models higher up in the lineup, like 3700H, 4700H, that only had a single HDMI 2.1 input. It's moot in your case. You don't really have to even care about it. But the 1700 came out later in the year, and it already had 3 HDMI 2.1 inputs, which didn't change when they updated the X1800H. So there is vanishingly little difference between the X1700H and the X1800H. The 1800H went to like the newest version of Bluetooth that was at the time, and I think there was one other very minor change. They took away the composite video ports on the X1800H. There's still a composite video in and out on the 1700, but yeah, they're vanishingly little different. So I really have no problem with you going with the X1700H. You found one that's within your budget. I think it's kind of nice having multi-Q XT over just bog standard multi-Q.
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit nice to have.
It's not going to make a difference, though.
Probably not. But I mean, multi-Q has very limited in terms of the number of filters, and XT increases those numbers of filters quite a bit. So I think that's a little bit nice to have when it honestly isn't costing you any more money. So I think you did land on the right suggestion. If you had more money to spend, I just wanted to mention that certainly when I'm talking like bang for the buck, the most features I can possibly get for the lowest price, it is still the Onkyo TX NR7100. And he's like, well, why do I need a receiver that can do 9 speakers? I'm stopping at 5 and I'm never going above that. One thing I like to point out is that with the 9-channel NR7100 from Onkyo, you can do Atmos with just 5 physical speakers, including front to back and left to right steering. It's still using 9-channel processing, but use the Dolby Atmos height virtualization. So you have 5 physical speakers, but 9 virtual channels. And it does a pretty good job, in my opinion. I think it sounds better than upward firing modules, going back to last person's question.
Right. So let's just address that really quickly. So the upward firing modules that are built into speakers are placed in the wrong place most of the time for
a lot of people.
What they're trying to do. So you'd say, okay, well, why would the Dolby Atmos virtualization sound any better if those speakers are still in the wrong places for the upward firing? It's because they're not trying to do upward firing. They know where your speakers are supposed to be placed, and if you listen to this podcast, you're trying to place them in those locations, and therefore the virtualization, the phase modulation that they do, and the playing with those sorts of things, is designed to work in the location where the speakers are supposed to be. Therefore, when Rob says, and he says it constantly, he likes the Dolby virtualization, the Atmos virtualization, it's because it's designed to work in the right location. Whereas the upward firing modules, if they are in the wrong location, they don't work very well. Yeah. And having them on top of your speakers is not the right location most of the time. There'll always be some a-hole on Reddit who's like, I've got the Klipsch upward fire, the speakers with the upwards fire module. It sounds, I can't tell the difference between that and having speakers on my ceiling. And I've tried. And first of all, they're a liar. They did not try. They did not put speakers on their ceiling and then take them out because they sounded just the same. It's just not. They didn't do it. And second, they got very, very, very lucky. That's all there is to it.
But it turns out that when you apply a head-related transfer function electronically, it works a lot better when the speaker is aimed at you instead of away from you.
Weird.
So that's why the virtualization, in my opinion, works better than upward-firing modules. But the NR7100, there's no way you're getting that for under $600. It is going to be $700 plus. So that breaks the budget. But if you were going to spend more, then that's the one I would point you to. But honestly, I think you're doing right with the X1700H.
Gurinder finally got around to running Audyssey in his home theater. The last time he tried to run it, he discovered that one of his 2 subwoofers wasn't working. So its amplifier has been replaced since then, but he hasn't had the house to himself in ages, so Audyssey had remained unrerun until now. He only had a couple of hours with the one kid in the house, and she was being quiet upstairs, so he turned the furnace off and unplugged the fridge and the adjacent... My Lord.
That's overkill, man. Overkill.
He measured 8 different microphone positions. It wasn't until the very last of the measurements that he realized he had forgotten to roll down his acoustically transparent projection screen. It's acoustically transparent, so who cares? But
this
whatever.
Is the question.
So he had to contain himself since he had really needed to go to bed so he'd be able to wake up early for work the next day, but it's been bugging him. So how big of a deal is it? Like, the screen is supposed to be acoustically transparent, but is it really? Dude, if you bought it and it's not acoustically transparent, you would send it back. I mean, right? Would rerunning Audyssey with the screen down make a big audible difference? I don't think it will make an audible difference, but it certainly won't be big. Or can he try to put his mind at ease that his absent-minded imperfection is not actually that big of a deal? It is not a deal. It is not a deal.
I mean, more than that, there's plenty of people who will tell you that, like, they don't even want to equalize above the transition frequency of the room, or not higher than 500 hertz. And the acoustic transparent screen is only affecting the highest of the high frequencies. And Audyssey doesn't tend to do a whole lot of correction up there anyway, other than a very generalized curve, perhaps, which is not going to change whether the screen is in place or not. It's not trying to do fine granular detail changes to the EQ, because that changes from position to position way too much for you to be able to apply one correction curve that'll actually work across the spatially averaged measurements that it took. So let me put your mind at ease. Tom already said it. He is absolutely correct. This is not something you need to worry about. If it were a solid screen, then I might consider. That's a big reflecting surface. Yeah. That could make a difference. But acoustically transparent should not be any noticeable difference at all.
So you notice the standby light on his JVC projector was off. He unplugged the projector and plugged it back in, and the standby light flashed, but then went off again. The JVC did not respond to any button pushes at that point. Does that mean it didn't turn on?
Indeed.
Okay, so it wasn't just a standby light not working. It was the projector wasn't working.
The projector was not powered on.
So he left it unplugged overnight and started looking at new NZ500 prices. They are too high for his available budget right now. He plugged the projector back in the next day and it's been working fine for the time being. Any idea what the problem could be? Overheating would be my guess, but I don't know why that would be the case. Let me give you an example of something that happened to me like yesterday or the day before. I don't remember what it was. I looked over at the microwave in my brand new stupid house that continues to do nothing but give me headaches. And I looked over the microwave, and the screen was off on the microwave.
Okay,
like it was not. There was nothing illuminated on the screen in the
looks like it's unplugged.
It is. Looked like it's unplugged. And I said, what's the deal with that? My wife went over there, and I looked at the microwave because we were cooking dinner, and she was reheating something, a sauce or something. So she put it in there, and she pressed the button, and it went on. The screen stayed off, but the microwave worked. And things happened. It warmed things up. And then she was like, is it going to stop? Or I don't know, because she pressed the 30-second button. Is it going to stop? I was like, I don't know. Let it go. And it stopped. It did the whole thing.
Okay.
And I was like, great. That's just another thing for me to replace. And then I walked over to the circuit breaker panel, which is inside the house. It's right in like a closet near the kitchen. And I looked for found the microwave fuse, and I flicked it off, the circuit breaker off, and then back on again. And then the screen came back on. I don't know. Why did that happen?
That's a glitch.
I don't know why that happened. It just did. I don't know. There was a power surge and it knocked something loose or something, or maybe there was a flicker of power and that we never noticed because we weren't home, or maybe we did notice it but didn't think anything of it. I don't know. But it's that's my answer. I don't know.
Yeah, the two things I would check on the JVC is it does have an air filter. I don't know how long it's been since you cleaned the air filter.
That's true.
But that can absolutely be the cause of this thing, because it will turn itself off if it's detecting that the air filter is clogged and the air is not circulating the way it's supposed to. And the other one is you could try just opening up the I don't know. Yeah, his sounds like it's probably a bulb one because he's not up to the NZ500 series yet. So yeah, if it has a lamp or a bulb, you could just open that door and sort of like unseat and reseat the lamp, because sometimes it's the lamp connection and that could do it. But if it's not that, then it could just be some kind of power supply issue, and I don't love that.
Yeah, you don't want that.
But if it is that sort of thing, that absolutely would be repairable, and that would cost less than buying a whole new JVC projector. So, but given that, once you left it off for long enough, it's been working fine since. I'm like, I think that is a heat related. I'm betting it's your filter. Like most people who own Epson projectors, they never clean that filter, and you really should. So I think that's a likely candidate.
Rob, I remember Rob and I were talking, and I was like, no, my projector doesn't have a filter. He goes, yes, it does. Yes, it does. Don't be an idiot. I was like, no, I looked. There's no projector. And then I had to Google it, and yes, there wasn't. No projector. There's no filter. There was, in fact, a filter, and it was, in fact, very dirty. Henry has a JVC NP5 projector, and he enjoys the way it displays HDR content. He sort of took stock of the shows and movies that he watches on a regular basis, and he realized that most of what he watches is now in HDR. So that means that NP5 is frequently going into high lamp mode, as that is the default when showing HDR. He can manually lower that, of course, but the drop in light output is genuinely noticeable. He was looking around the AVS forum, and he found lots of NP5 owners saying they need to replace their lamp every 1,000 to 2,000 hours. They're finding the lamp output has dropped by 50% compared to when it was brand new within this time span. And he recalls us saying it's probably a good idea to always have a backup spare lamp on hand for the MP5. So isn't that time frame too short? Shouldn't the lamp last longer than 1,000 to 2,000 hours? I mean, first of all, AVS forums. Let's start there. Second of all, we'll see. Maybe a lot of these MP5 owners are also using HDR all the time, but since he falls into that camp himself, does he really need to anticipate that he'll have to replace the lamp after maybe only 1,000 hours of use? Is the dimming going to be gradual enough that he won't really notice? What are our thoughts? Yes. So that last part. That last part is it really going to be gradual enough that he won't really notice? Generally speaking, yes. You will not notice until one day you'll go, wait a second, that seems really dim. And then it'll hit like some threshold. That's what's always happened to me. Or the lamp goes out, which is the other thing. But sure. I didn't have HDR on my projectors.
Yeah.
Which is a
big
completely different thing. Yeah. So this is the problem with projectors in general is trying to get high light output out of them and then also not spending $300 to $500 or whatever it is for a lamp replacement every couple of years is also an issue. You're like, how long before I'm just going to buy a new projector? Yeah. So 1,000 to 2,000 hours seems excessively low to me for
not
HDR.
If it's in high lamp mode lots of the time. 1,500 hours is what you would expect, which is right between 1,000 and 2,000 hours.
Yeah. Just make sure you're using that you've set it, calibrated it properly, and it's not overly bright, any more bright than it needs to be. But yeah, it sounds like, according to Rob, it's that's about right. So that's unfortunate.
1,500 hours is what you're expecting if you're predominantly using HDR and it's in high lamp mode. And I mean, using HDR on a JVC projector is lovely because it has that frame-by-frame dynamic tone mapping, and it does a really good job. And it's not a projector where I would say, oh, you're better off just converting everything to SDR and showing it only that way anyway. It's like, no, HDR does look different than SDR on the JVC MP5, and it is really nice. And if you do manually put it into the medium or the eco lamp mode, it doesn't look as different, and you might as well use SDR at that point. So it's like, yeah, to get everything you paid for. But in addition to that, the MP5 in HDR mode is really not meant for a screen that's larger than about 100 inches, maybe 110 at the max. And a lot of people, because of price, are using a NP5 on a 120 up to 150, 160 inch screen, and it's at its absolute maximum output, and there is no headroom whatsoever, and you're running that thing as hard as it can possibly go with the iris wide open, the manual iris that is wide open, and there's no headroom to spare. And so as soon as that thing starts getting below 25%, you start being able to notice it, and you've got no adjustability and headroom left, and you're like, well, that's it. What do I do? The people who are replacing their lamp every 1,000 hours, that's the camp they're in. They're almost certainly using a 135, 150 inch screen or something like that, and the MP5 doesn't really have the horsepower to deal with that. So, you're not out of the norm if you're replacing it at 1,500 hours whatsoever when you've been, mostly using high lamp mode, and you kind of just have to accept it because there's not really much else you can do about it. If you have a smaller screen, you could maybe lower the lamp mode. You could certainly, at the beginning, close down the manual iris a little bit and then open that up gradually as the lamp dims, and then you won't notice that the light is getting dimmer because you're opening up that iris. But if it's already wide open because you're using a 150-inch screen with a projector that doesn't really have the horsepower for that, then that's the way it is.
It's unfortunate. Terry has a home theater set up in a small spare bedroom. It's only 10 by 11, but it's enclosed and fully light controlled. He's been using a 75-inch Hisense U8K, and the seat is only 6 feet away, although his eyes end up being a bit further when he partially reclines. He was thinking he might upgrade to the 77-inch LG C5 OLED, but for right around the same price, to consider the 83-inch LG B5. There's no extra room to move the TV or the seat, so the field of view is going to be what it's going to be, no adjustment after the fact. Will the 83-inch actually be too large? Is the C5 that much better regardless, or should he stick with the 77-inch C5 no matter what? So there's a C5 and a B5 that he's considering with the 83-inch. So, I mean, first of all, field of view, which is what we're talking about here,
that's right,
is highly personal.
It sure is.
It's very hard for us to tell you whether or not your the field of view will be good for you or bad for you. I say this all the time when people are talking about bike fit. I'm like, anybody can tell you what size shoe fits you, but only you can tell you whether or not you like the shoe when it's on your foot.
Right. Yeah.
It's the same thing with field of view. We can tell you what the recommendations are. We can tell you what we like. But that means nothing when to you. So you're sitting in your room. You currently have a 75-inch. You're talking about going up to a 77 or an 83. A 77, I don't know that you're going to notice the difference between a 77 and a 75. I mean, it's only 2 inches. It's a little bit bigger, but it's not that much bigger. 83 is quite a bit bigger.
Yep, you would notice.
And you will be noticeable. So, like for me, what I want is I want to be able to see the vast majority of the screen. I want to be able to see everything that's happening on the screen without moving my eyes. Like I don't want to have
physically moving your eyes left to right.
Physically move my eyes from one corner of the screen to the other to see all of it. Now, if there's a little bit going on in the edges that I'm not able to focus on with my eyes while they're just facing the center of the screen, fine. Okay, that's fine. But I don't want to have to like move my head practically in order to see both edges of the screen, which often happens in IMAX and stuff if you sit too close to the screen.
But then some people really like their peripheral vision to be filled, and so they want a much larger field of view than what Tom and I have a pretty similar preference for our field of view. We like about a 45-degree field of view, right in that sort of range. And honestly, that sounds like exactly what you're hitting right now, because when you partially recline, your eyes are probably about 6.5 feet feet from eyes to screen, just given the distances that you quoted, which means from a 75-inch diagonal, you're looking at a 45-degree field of view. So you can go by that because you've been watching that. It's like, are you finding yourself constantly wishing the screen were larger? Or are you sitting there going, in my mind, I love the idea of a bigger TV, but given the distance that I'm at, this is about right. Like, you should be able to know of your own opinion whether you're sitting there in your theater as it is now going, honestly, this is about the right size screen, or I every time I'm in here, I wish this screen were larger. And that should make the decision.
You can sit on your couch, and instead of reclining, you could lean forward.
You could.
And say, you could probably do the math and figure out exactly how far forward you would have to lean in order for that 77 or 75-inch to look like an 83-inch. You could probably do the math on that.
Right.
But just lean forward a little bit and go, is this okay? Could I live like this?
Honestly, watch a whole movie that way, even if it's a little bit uncomfortable, because sometimes when the field of view does get that much larger, you're like, I am physically tired after I watched this 2.5-hour movie because I was having to move my eyes and maybe even my neck and my head around a little bit to take it all in. And if you're like, I didn't really enjoy it, like, what are we doing here? Why are we're just going for the bigger screen because you hear the advice, you should always get the biggest screen you can possibly afford. It's like, well, that's if you're sitting 12 feet away. It's never going to be big enough unless you get a projection setup or a micro LED, which is unusual for most people, especially in a living room or a spare bedroom, something like that. But you're in the case where you're only sitting there, seats are 6 feet away, your eyes are probably 6.5, not more than 7 feet away. I'm like, 75 or 77 might be exactly right, and you shouldn't let the voice in your head going, I just want the bigger TV. It's like, no, if you're actually uncomfortable watching the bigger TV, then what have we accomplished here? So what I wouldn't say is, if you're sitting there in your theater right now, every single time you're watching going, I wish this TV were bigger, then get the 83-inch B5, because it is not so much worse that you should go for the smaller C5 or anything like that. Side by side, there's a noticeable difference. The C5 can get brighter in the HDR highlights. There's no question about it. But outside of a side-by-side comparison, the B5 still looks fantastic. And if what you really obviously know instantly is like, I really want the bigger screen, then get the bigger B5. But if, you're sitting there with your 75 going, this honestly is about right, then get the 77-inch.
Yeah, that's sort of where I land there. Bill. Sadly, there has been an unexpected death in Bill's family. Bill's, our condolences.
Yeah.
They will be holding a celebration of life this weekend. They would like to have a slideshow of photos and short video showing on a loop on the venue's projection screen. But the owners of the venue informed him that their projector is barely working, so they suggested that if he could bring his own, that would be much better. The room is going to be well lit, not dim at all, and that's just a plain white screen around 100 to 110 inches, but it's a 4x3 screen. So Bill is an OLED guy, and so he knows he wouldn't be happy with anything less than a JVC in his own home setup, and he definitely isn't looking to spend that kind of money right now. For a celebration of life, you're going to use this projector once? I'm a little confused, but let's continue.
There's a little bit more.
So he figured you could go to the other end of the spectrum if you can find an inexpensive but very bright, easily transported projector that could do a backyard movie nights in the summer. Then he'd be fine with spending somewhere in the range of $500 to $1,000. So are there any brands or particular models that we can point him towards? He'll likely order from Amazon for the fast shipping, so anything available from there that we think might fit his needs. I am still confused. So is he going to buy a projector for this specifically and then maybe keep it around just in case he wants to use
for outdoor movie nights?
For outdoor movie nights.
Because the alternative, of course, is to rent a projector, right? That you could do. You could rent a projector for this one-time event.
I'll be honest with you. If it were me, there are a ton of very small, very bright LED projectors.
They're not that bright, though.
Well, bright. I mean, first of all, bright enough for this. Number one, and I would never. If it were me, I would never really consider. I have a very hard time recommending people make purchases specifically for a possibility. Like, I might want to do outdoor movies someday. You're never going to do it. No, you really are never going to do it. And if you are, then the amount of money that you are going to spend on this projector is either going to be not the right amount, or it's going to be that by the time you get around to doing it, the projector is going to be obsolete or, dead for one reason or the other. I would just get rent something. just not do this. Rob's going to have recommendations for projectors that you could buy, and they're all fine.
Like going by what's been asked, and if the idea were actually I really did want a backyard outdoor TV, what can we recommend in this price range? That's the way I'm approaching this. But I agree with Tom. If this honestly is going to be a one-time event, then just rent a projector. That is
even if you're like, I could buy one of these, cheap LED projectors.
It shouldn't cost $500 to rent a projector for one day. It really shouldn't.
No, even if you're gonna, and like Rob said, they're not that bright. They're not that this, whatever. Yeah. It doesn't matter. It is a celebration of life. You're gonna, it doesn't matter that it's not like the colors are washed out or whatever. They just have to have some sort of image.
Yeah.
So you could probably spend a couple $100 on one off of Amazon, the little cheap LED ones, and it's not going to be great.
Pretty crappy. But I'm going on the assuming this is going to be used for a backyard outdoor in the future. That's the way I've approached this. So I'm going in order of price from lowest to highest for the ones I would recommend, and these are predominantly going to be either Optima or ViewSonic. I know there are a gazillion other brands out there, sometimes at even lower prices, with outrageous claims for how many lumens they can throw out there. I don't trust any of those numbers. I don't trust any of those brands. Optima and ViewSonic I do trust to actually deliver something pretty close to the amount of lumens that they claim, especially if you're not worried about accurate color. You can get pretty close to these actual lumen claim numbers. So lowest price, $570, you can get Optima's HD 146X. As the name implies, it is an HD projector. It is not 4K. It does not do HDR, but it is 1080p. I would only ever recommend for a potential in the future, this is going to be backyard and outdoors, I would only recommend DLP projectors. The light path is sealed. Pollen and dust cannot get into the actual light path. I would not recommend LCD projectors, even though there are some nice Epsons in this price range with that air filter and the air actually going through the light path itself. I would never want to take those outdoors. I'd only go DLP. So yeah, honestly, out of this whole list, this is the most middle of the road, even though it's the least expensive. The black levels are not JVC black levels, but they're okay. The contrast is okay. The color accuracy is okay. It's not tops of anything, but it's not bottom of anything either. And it's the lowest price, so I don't have any problem recommending the Optima HD 146X. Going up a little bit in price, $640. If you want the most lumens at the lowest price, ViewSonic's PA503 HD, again, it's HD only, it's not HDR, but 4,000 lumens, and it actually comes kind of close to that without anything close to accurate colors. It can never do accurate colors. This is a boardroom projector. It's not really a movie projector. It's not my favorite for the backyard thing, but if you're just I need the max light output and it needs to be $650 or less, well, here's an option. If you want kind of one that I think is interesting, but it's getting a little spendy. We're up to $875 here, and I'm like, I'd rather be closer to 500 than 1,000 for what you said. But Optima's HZ or HZ 40 HD is a really interesting model. It's 1080p. It doesn't do 4K, but it can accept a 4K signal and it can accept an HDR signal. And so that's just kind of interesting for compatibility. Also, this is the only laser model I have on here. So if you don't want to ever deal with lamps, this is lasers. It is plenty bright. The colors are very vibrant, even if they're not the most accurate. But I think it's an interesting projector, the HZ40 HDR, but $875. If you were it has to be 4K, well, you can do it for under $1,000. ViewSonic's PX701 4K comes in at $930, basically. This is a 1080p panel, but they wobble it 4 times per frame. So you do get genuine 4K 60 on the screen with this. It is about the only projector out there that does genuine 4K pixels on the screen for under $1,000, ViewSonic's PX701 4K. And then if you determine that what you really need is a short throw distance, not ultra short, we're not talking inches away from the screen, but a couple of feet away from the screen rather than, 8 or 9 feet away from the screen, you might want to consider BenQ's TH671ST for that. The ST stands for short throw, but it is not UST. It is not ultra short throw. This is 4 feet away rather than 8 or 9 feet away. $950, SDR only, 1080p only, but it's BenQ, so the colors are actually pretty accurate. And if what you need is that short throw distance, then this model makes sense for under $1,000.
All right. That looks like it. There's some questions from Saucy down here. That was if we wanted to revisit if we somehow went short on time, but we absolutely didn't. I'd love to get out of here, so let's wrap it up. Let's go. Yeah. I want to thank our listeners from the week. I want to thank those of you who in the past who have gone to avrant.com, clicked on the Buy Us a Cup of Coffee link, and sent us a PayPal donation, as well as our 120 patrons over at patreon.com.
Yeah, for sure. Again, that is patreon.com/AVRant podcast if you'd like to sign up to make an automatic monthly donation. So big thanks to our 120 patrons over there right now.
I also want to thank Ren for emailing a bunch of codes for me to test. I'll get on that today. Thank you, Ren.
Yeah, thank you, Ren, and thank you, Ray, Ren's brother, who actually provided the codes. So thanks both of you very much.
And yes, thank you, Ran. Ray, sorry, Ran. I got that all mixed up. I shoved your names together. Got notes of gratitude for keeping the podcast going from Dazz, Rob S., Bill, Gurinder, Terry, and also Bill. Thank you for thanking us.
Yeah, I'll say the names one more time. We got Dazz, Rob S., Bill, Gurinder, Terry, and a different Bill. Thank you all so much for those notes of gratitude and encouragement. We really appreciate them. And a big, big thank you to everybody who continues to listen and send in your questions.
If you want to get your question answered, all you have to do is ask. You ask by emailing us at question@avrant.com. For AVRant, I'm Tom Andry.
And I'm Rob H. Now go out and listen to something.
Want your question answered? Send it to question@avrant.com. This is AVRant.
Now go out and listen to something.